I'm going to go over a few stocks on the 5-minute time frame and show you the channel we are in for Tuesday. Hi everyone, it's Dow on the Dow. Before I get started, I want to wish my dad a happy Father's Day. I'll see you very soon. And for everyone else, I hope you're having a wonderful time with your family and your friends. Now, the first stock I'm going to go over is PXD, Pioneer Natural Resources Company. We ended the week at $206.80, up 1.73%. To the north side from where we are takes us to 2 standard deviations, and that is roughly 208.23. Above that, at 3 standard deviations, 209.82, and at 4 standard deviations, roughly 211.42. To the south side, back at the middle of the trend, takes us to roughly 205.10. Note the gap that forms to the south side at 204.20 and closes out at roughly 203.39. Below that, at negative 2 standard deviations, is 201.96, $200.36, and at negative 4 standard deviations, roughly 198.79. Note the gap that closed over here to the south side at 202.29, and this one at roughly 201.74. The next stock is TE Connectivity. We ended the week at 135.65, up more than 1.6%. To the north side from where we are takes us to 2 standard deviations, and that is roughly 136.05, 136.62, and finally at 4 standard deviations, 137.19. To the south side, the middle of the trend takes us to roughly 134.90. Note a gap that forms to the south side at 134.74. Negative 2 standard deviations is roughly 133.77. That gap closes out at 133.51. And below that, 133.18 and 132.64. Note the clear bounce at support here and here as people buy the dip. This is a support zone here, here, and here. Now the next stock is NEE, Next Era Energy. And we ended the week at $75.59, up more than 1.6%. To the north side from where we are takes us to roughly 76.77, 77.41, and roughly 78.05 to the south side. 75.47, note a gap that forms to the south side at 74.73, closes out at roughly 74.38. Negative 2 standard deviations is 74.18, 73.55, and 72.91. Again, note the bounce at support here and again here, and the sell-off near 2 standard deviations, this area, and this area. This is a resistance zone, another resistance zone, and another resistance zone. And typically, stocks like to stay within this channel. Anything that goes outside of it is an outlier, and again, a signal either to buy or sell. The next stock is Intel Corporation. I do own this. I bought some for my mom. And we are sitting at 36.37, up 1.54%. To the north side from where we are is roughly 36.84. That takes us to the middle of the trend. Above that, at 2 standard deviations, 37.50, 37.84, and 38.18. To the south side, 36.19, 35.83, and 35.51. And again, note the bounce here at support as people buy the dip, And here is resistance as people take their profits and they run. Now, the next stock I'm going to go over is the Southern Company. And we ended the week at 71.76. I don't know why I put 78. Let me change that very quickly. Move that out of the way. All right, to the north side from where we are is roughly 72.42, 72.76, and should we be so lucky, 73.11. And note the 1 year price target on TradingView of 73.36, which we are very close to, and that would be a gain of 2.23% from where we are. Now, to the south side, -2 standard deviations is roughly 71.03, 70.67, and 70.33. And looking back, note the sell-off at resistance here, a clear sell-off at resistance here as well, goes back down to support and bounces as people buy the dip. And note this gap to the downside closed out at $70.48. And that does it for me for the 5-minute time frame. But if you are still watching, I'm going to quickly go over the same stocks on the monthly time frame and show you the price target of these stocks. I like to buy on the monthly time frame. I like to troll for stocks that have been beaten down that are still good companies. So PXD, the 1 year price target is 251.82. And it's hard to see because I have all these markings as I look at the chart, but we are right here. So this is the target, but I think obviously we will go even higher than that on the on the monthly time frame, and that would take it to 264.04. Now, had you bought down here at support on the monthly time frame, and you wrote it out to 2 standard deviations, which is a sell zone, you'd be up 408%. If you held on to 3 standard deviations here, that would have taken you to 476% return on your money. Now, if you bought it down there and you ride it to the target of 251.82, that would be a return of roughly 402%. Not too shabby. The next one is TEL. We're very close to the 1 year target, and that would be a return of 3.15% from where we are, but I think it could possibly, in the future, way down the road, get to possibly 220. And that would be in June of maybe 2024. I will be keeping my eyes on this stock and see if that pans out. The next one is NEE. We are down here. The target is right here, and that would be a return of 21% if we make it to $92.13. But the range that we are currently in, the first target would be the middle of the trend, and that is 83.93, and then above that is roughly 95.45. And to the south side, the range is $60.78, and to the north side again, 83.73-ish. right. And had you purchased right about here and you sold off at 2 standard deviations, which is a safe play, that would have been a return of 177%. If you let it ride, did nothing, and then tapped out at 3 standard deviations, that would be roughly 237% of a return on your money there. The next stock is Intel. I've tracked this so many times, but we are sitting right here on the monthly. And to the north side of that takes us to roughly $41.32, a safe target. And on stockanalysis.com, since we've already hit the average, the next target is $45, which would be a return of roughly 23%. Now, had you purchased on the monthly time frame, let's say down here, your return, if you jumped off at 2 standard deviations, would be roughly 433%. If you had let it ride some more and tapped out up here, that would have been a return of 508%. And the last one I'm going to go over is the Southern Company. Again, we're very close to that one. And the target is $73.36, which is only a 2% return, but that's better than nothing and pays better than most banks. And for the monthly time frame, so we will hit 2 standard deviations basically. And above that, the next target after that would be $77.19. And keep your fingers crossed if we make it to 4 standard deviations back to the high, that would be $81.64, and that is a long ways off. And this right here was the COVID crash. If you were brave enough and knew about this stock and picked up some shares, the return on this, if you stopped out here at 2 standard deviations, would be 70%. That is the return. If you had ridden it out to 3 standard deviations, that's 81%. And at 4, that is a return of a 91% on your money. And of course, what comes up must come down, but what comes down does not necessarily go back up. You can expect a sell-off at resistance, and this whole entire area is resistance, just like this zone and a sell-off. Anytime you hit resistance at 2 standard deviations, I always anticipate a sell-off as people sell and take their money and run. All right, that does it for me. Again, happy Father's Day. Thank you so much for watching. If there is a stock that you would like me to go over, please let me know.